Hello, you wonderful people. Making a little video to be like, hey, I've officially gone past the 2-year anniversary for all my podcasts. And I do mean all my podcasts. If you're familiar with on this channel, I do 3 podcasts where I talk about TV shows. Obviously, I have Not Too Comic Book, TV shows that are adaptations of comic books, Super-Fanta-Fi, shows that are the supernatural, fantasy, and science fiction genre, and crime-centric, which I talk about crime drama TV shows. These are all just TV shows that I like, that I watch, and I felt like, kind of, discussing and stuff like that. That's the whole purpose of these 3 different podcasts. They're essentially the same podcast. I just kind of categorize them into 3 different categories. And it has officially been over 2 years, and you might have noticed that I said it the second time too, because I actually missed the anniversary. This is actually, depending on when this goes up, this is anywhere between, it's at the very least 2 weeks, it might be very close to 3 weeks by the time this actually goes up. But I missed my anniversary. My anniversary for the podcast was on February 24th. I always do this when it comes to that, because I missed it the first year as well, because I was like, oh yeah, like I think about it a couple days beforehand, and then when the day comes around, it's like I completely forget, because this was also on a Saturday. But at the same time, I think it's because I was distracted, because like, oh, my sister took me and my nieces to go see Black Panther, which is like super dope if you haven't seen it already. I mean, I feel like most people is like, well, I'm already part of this MCU situation, so I'm kind of, it's like I'm already going to watch Black Panther anyway. So that's kind of where I was. I was like, she was like, oh yeah, you want to watch Black Panther? I was like, sure. I'm sure you're just watching it because you're like, oh yeah, you've heard nothing but good things about it, which is a reason I would too. But also at the same time, it's like, yo, this is an investment. Like I've already talked about that in links and stuff like that. It's pretty dope. Like honestly, if you have not seen it, change that. It's a really good movie. I'm just going to reiterate what people have already said. That literally going into the movie, all I heard was like, yo, Michael B. Jordan, dope villain. Like I think he's the first villain that people in the MCU have really fallen in love with. Like, because like most people, they feel like the villains are very weak. The only villain that most people like is Loki, and even then most people are like, the only reason why we like him is because he's so charismatic. It's because of Tom Hiddleston that kind of made Loki interesting. Like most people wouldn't have cared. That's always kind of been the biggest complaint about the MCU movies. Like no one really ever cared about their villains. This is the first time I've heard people be like, yo, villain is dope. Even going as far as like, even I have to admit, it's like, I kind of get why you're the villain, and it's like it's super messed up what you're doing, but you're slightly justified in what you're doing. You know, it's one of those type of situations. It's like you kind of feel for the villain type of thing. Obviously, that's kind of going into spoilers, so I'm not going to talk any more about it. Like if you haven't seen it, watch it. Obviously, in preparation for what's to come, but also just because it's a pretty dope movie. But nevertheless, that was pretty awesome. So I think that also kind of sidetracked my brain. But once again, even if that wasn't the case, I would have forgotten it anyway. Because I meant to, because those type of things I try to record ahead of time, but like I said, completely forgot. So, but yeah, like it is the 2-year anniversary exactly for all my podcasts, because I did start them all on the same day, and that was February 24th, 2016. It bothers me a little bit because when I started the podcast, a lot of stuff that I was currently watching at that time, like I was already like most of the way through or in the middle of their respective seasons is what I'm trying to get at. Because like I remember exactly what I was covering at the time. Like for Not Too Comic Book, I think it was like Supergirl and Lucifer. Like it was probably roughly around halfway point for Supergirl. It was like only like up to episode 4 in Lucifer when I started the podcast. Super-Fanta-Fi, it was Bitten and the Magicians, and on Crime Centric it was an episode of Castle. So that's pretty awesome. Like obviously there's a whole playlist of every like review where I've talked about episodes of a podcast. They're not properly categorized in the sense of like the titles of the videos. Like I've constantly changed up how I handle those just because I'm me. Like I wish I was smarter about it at the beginning, but it's like, well, it's too late now. And even so, like just because, I mean, they're up there in case you ever want to watch them, but it's kind of like, well, for one, you'd have to be a fan of that particular show and want to hear my opinion about this specific episode, which is like those episodes are like 2 years old at this point in time, especially like earlier ones, and the other ones are just less older too, like whether they be like, whatever the case may be, they're older episodes. It probably doesn't matter as much, because especially in some of that stuff, it's like, oh, I was talking about certain shows where I'm currently talking about that show 2 seasons later, so it kind of doesn't matter as much. You get what I'm trying to say. I've just been here rattling on about it, but first of all, I do like, talking about it, I do want to thank you to any and everyone who comes across a podcast, whether you just simply pop in, whether you drop a like, whatever the case may be, you know, even like talk about it. Like, I do appreciate that, because that's why I started these, because I wanted an outlet to talk about these type of things. Just my thoughts are like, ooh, I thought things were going to be this way, and the episode ended up being about this, and it's like, oh, what does this mean for this character, for the story, in the next episode, next season, what this could mean potentially for the future series, that type of thing. I just like talking about it because I've never really had an outlet before, and so I don't expect you to like everything that I like. I've always said that when it comes to the podcast. I know there's plenty of stuff that I like that, you know, I have a very widespread, like, particular taste for things. So it's like, oh, just because I like all of these shows doesn't mean everybody likes them. And that's why I want them designed the way I do. So it's like, okay, like, in case you don't care about this particular show, you can just listen to hear what I thought about this particular show and this particular episode, yada yada type of thing, you know. So once again, thank you. I will be continuing to do those. There's still also that debate on whether or not I should do video or not, because luckily for me, I am in a position where it won't take as long to upload them, even though, like, my podcasts tend to be kind of very long because I go on huge tangents and stuff like that, because I kind of don't know when to shut up, which is kind of funny considering I don't really talk a lot in my personal life, just because I'm kind of like a little socially awkward and stuff like that. But nevertheless, it's something I've constantly debated back and forth. I'd also love to kind of get your opinion about it. The main reason why I never do videos is because it would involve me having to wait to the next day, and I like always talking about things ahead of time because I want to kind of get my thoughts out there ahead of time, because I tend to forget stuff anyway when I'm recording things like the night of. But I feel like I'd forget even more the next day, because that's how I actually used to do it in the beginning. But then I started doing it like, nope, the night of me watching something, I'm going to talk about it. That way I get all my thoughts out most of the time. So, but, you know, now with the things the way they are, it still take a long time to kind of, you know, export stuff video wise, but the upload will not take nearly as long as it used to, just because we have faster internet here now and everything. So I don't know, let me know your thoughts, because personally I kind of feel like I still want them to stay audio podcasts, simply because I feel like, I mean, to be fair, nothing on this channel really needs to be a video, but whatever. But also just because I like to be able to get those out the next day. I don't need to get them out the next day, but it's just kind of like my little anal side of me that's kind of like, yo, like I have this particular schedule in my head, and I always want to kind of see it through when it comes to like video scheduling and stuff like that, in particular the podcast. So I don't know, like I said, let me know all your thoughts about that in the comments down below. Once again, thank you for anyone that watches those, comes across those. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. Obviously, like, the podcast things make up a majority of the uploads on this channel. It's ridiculous. It's actually hard to fathom that they literally make up like 9/10 of the uploads on this channel are those. So I mean, they're the most consistent thing, except for, you know, times when I take breaks, simply because it's like, oh yeah, because literally everything I'm watching right now is taking a break, so I have to, along with it, take a break. So it's a whole thing. Nevertheless, yeah, really, that's all I want to talk about. I'm going to, like I've talked about countless times before, I will continue this for as long as I possibly can, you know, until life kind of makes it impossible for me to continue doing this. I will continue to do these. Hopefully we'll have at least another year of doing podcasts. So much stuff. New seasons, new shows I'm looking forward to discussing, as well as obviously continuing discussing shows and I'm in the process of currently talking about, as well as seeing them in their future. You get what I'm trying to say. I just let it go, because I'm just rambling too much, so I do apologize. But like always, till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good